Hello friends, once again we're here to guess people's favorite books from 2025. I have a spreadsheet full of my channel members' data and I haven't looked at their first number one pick, favorite book of the year, but I do have, their number 2 through 15 in many cases books, and I'm going to try to suss out what their number one was. Last time we did this, I got 2.5 points. This time I would like to hit 3, but I don't know if I have any powers remaining. So we'll see how it goes. First up, I haven't even pulled up the answers. Where is that? Okay, we have Jess. So Jess has 4. Okay, actually now I have more data than I did last time because now I have compiled everything and I know the 40 books that have been most mentioned by my channel members. So we can peruse these. I feel like these are probably all good guesses for all of these people because they're the most mentioned things. So speaking of the spreadsheet, starting with Jess, Jess has 4 from the spreadsheet. When the Wolf Comes Home, or not from the spreadsheet, from the favorites of the spreadsheet. When the Wolf Comes Home, Atmosphere, The Favorites, and Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. There's also just a lot of kind of popular fiction here, like Broken Country and The Safe Keep, popular mysteries like All the Colors of the Dark, We Are All Guilty Here, Don't Let Him In. I don't know what Water and Earth are, but if there's also a Fire into Air book, if this is a series, then that's my first guess. But I don't know, would you have 3 of the 4 in your top 15? Because we have favorites, but then we also have honorable mentions. Maybe though Jess hasn't read all 4, or they're not all out. I don't know anything about it. We have some divisive horror here too, Natural Beauty and So Thirsty. The most divisive pick here is Deep Cuts. So I think that Jess can appreciate an unlikable character and also a slower plot than what's expected. I feel like you look at a lot of these books and people will say, oh, that's not exactly what I thought it was going in. That's not, as action-packed as I thought it would be. So a little more mundane. They're the kind of books that not a lot happens. And 6 of these I loved, and 2 more are on my TBR. So something that I would expect to see here, I think, is Wild Dark Shore, because that is one of the absolute favorites. And since none of my favorites are here, and that was one of my favorites, and there's general fiction here, I think that one makes sense. The Compound, I feel like could also be a good pick because it's kind of mundane, but there's no other dystopians here. So maybe something literary with a little bit of speculative stuff. The names, I keep thinking I know what that book is, but I don't think I actually know. Although there's also the chance there's a repeat author on here because we have John Boyne twice. So maybe it's Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Huang, and just got really into Ling Ling Huang this year. If you liked Deep Cuts and The Favorites, which I did, I feel like that person could also like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, or The Wedding People. Those relationships that kind of feel odd. Maybe that. And then since a lot of Jess's top picks are horror, but then there's some mystery, I feel like Julie Chan is Dead would also fit really well here. Oh, and also Bat Eater. Bat Eater was mentioned a lot of times on the spreadsheet. So I don't think I should think very much further back than 2025, 2024, because Jess seems to be up on newer stuff. Those are all my thoughts with Jess. Oh, Jess, what's the answer? Jess read 60 books this year. Wild Dark Shore! I did it! I got a point. I never have my notebook out. I never expect to be getting points. I blabbered so much about so many options, but my first instinct was correct. Okay, whatever happens from here is gonna be fine because I got the first one. Okay, next we have Cat. Cat's main favorites, some of these are my favorite books and some of them are my least favorite books, which I think is really interesting. Loved Split Tooth, loved Catherine House, but then really disliked The Starving Saints and Coup de Grace. And then also, if we bring in honorable mentions, I didn't really connect with A Spear Cuts Through Water like everybody else did, and Such Sharp Teeth I don't really like. So there are some things on my TBR here. There's some things that were honestly, The Bog Wife and The Road are 2 that I didn't love as much as everybody else. Really, this is kind of a mix of everything. We've got horror, we've got sci-fi, we've got weird. I would say unique writing is something that stands out amongst all of these. I would think Cat's number 1 is something that's written in a very clear authorial voice. And also isolation. A lot of these are about being stuck inside somewhere, stuck inside your mind, stuck inside a labyrinth, stuck inside a manor or a school. Also, a couple of these play with time. I don't know if that's a strong enough thread to make me think the number one pick would be a time thing. Piranesi and House of Leaves are something that come to mind. Well, I don't know if those are good guesses. I just think they're kind of popular but also unpopular reads at the same time. I don't think Cat's number one is going to be from the top 40. I think it's going to be something I loved or something I hated. It could be something I've never read, but I just don't think so. I think it's going to be something that I felt really strongly about. For a 2025 release, I wouldn't be surprised to see You Weren't Meant to Be Human on here, because there's like some pregnancy and horror and queer characters on this list. Strong writing, like gothic. I'm getting gothic vibes, maybe something like Blood on Her Tongue. I don't know why I'm thinking Follow Me to Ground, because there's shorter things here. Mrs. Death, for some reason, popping into my head. It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over. That's a short one that I think is strange. A lot of people hate or love. A Short Stay in Hell. To Be Taught If Fortunate is one that I appreciate the writing for, but it's more about the construction. And I really think Cat's list is more like poetic kind of language, like very descriptive, very vibey. I kind of want to say Ripe. I feel like Ripe is general fiction, but it's got a horror angle and it deals with really tough stuff. You know what I didn't love this year? We Love You, Bunny. Perhaps Cat loves Bunny, and this year fell in love with We Love You, Bunny. So that's one of my guesses. Also The Vanished Birds, because that author is already on here. Or Academy for Liars. Now I feel like somebody who loves some of these could love an Academy for Liars. And I did in concept, but not in practice. I'm pretty certain that I'm wrong. And if it's something that I should have thought of, and they put their number one favorite as something that just didn't come to mind, I'm gonna die. Okay, Cat. The Buffalo Hunter. Okay, I definitely see that one on a lot of people's favorites. Is that in the 40? That is in the 40. What the heck? Okay, I didn't guess that because the writing is beautiful, but I just didn't think Cat would love Stephen Graham Jones like that. So my bad. Great taste, Cat. That was a 4-star for me. So not one of my all-time favorites and not one that I hated. I was incorrect. Then we've got Kayla. Kayla, we have a smaller sample size here. And what I noticed right away with Kayla is there's something from every genre. We have general fiction, we have horror, we have romance. I actually loved all three of those top picks. We have a fantasy, a manga, a mystery, another romance, gothic novel, another fantasy. These aren't like the most popular of the year, but they're not popular. You know what I mean? I think we're missing sci-fi, and I'm trying not just to pick like my favorites. I want to say To Be Taught If Fortunate, because maybe I influenced Kayla to pick it up. That's one of my guesses. My other guess is Dungeon Crawler Carl, because that one was on the spreadsheet a lot, and because there's a mix of everything. Like, I don't truly know what Kayla's into. There's a lot of romantic stuff on here, but there's a couple that don't have relationships at the forefront. I'm also gonna say The Favorites. I think The Favorites could fit here for some reason. Just something where you question the relationship. You know what I think it is? I think it's Sunrise on the Reaping, because we have like a series here. Clearly this person likes series, has a sequel on their favorite. Oh, if the first, maybe the number one is just A Tainted Cup. And Kayla read both of those books. Okay. But I'm thinking like Holly Jackson. Most people who I feel like picked up this Holly Jackson read a lot of her YA, and maybe Kayla was reading a lot of YA, has been through the whole Hunger Games, and is still reading in that series, like a lot of people are. And that was our number one mentioned thing on the spreadsheet. So I feel like somebody is gonna have Sunrise on the Reaping, and Kayla feels like the right person to have that. Because it's a genre we don't have, and there's every other genre. Well, it could be nonfiction too, but like YA, dystopian, that's what I'm committing to. Oh my God, I hope I'm right. Atmosphere. Oh, Atmosphere. I don't know why I didn't think of that one. I just read it. It is on the spreadsheet a lot, and it does fit because it's not a genre that's already on here. It's historical, and it's like a little science-y. Oh, I should have gotten that. Okay, let's move on to Lauren. Lauren has a big mix of genres too. In the top spot is like a gothic horror, One Yellow Eye, which is on my TBR that I really want to read. We also have general fiction, more horror, kind of gross sci-fi, weird, speculative. What do all of these have in common? a lot of these books, like, I don't really know what they are because I haven't read them. Thirst Trap and Fundamentally and All Fours and Good Girl and Set Piece. Ruth, like, I vaguely know what some of these are. When you put Ruth and Walking Practice next to each other, I think of Lapvona instantly for some reason. I think a lot of these books are about a couple things, like connection between people. Almost all of these have a group of like siblings or a group of friends or a couple, not necessarily romantic, but just people who are really committed to each other. And then also kind of like female rage in a way, but not in its most extreme form. And then also fame in a way with a couple of these, but not in its most extreme form. Like people who are on a quiet kind of reality show or people who used to be TV stars. So my first instinct now is The Compound. I feel like that would fit perfectly here. Also The Land of Milk and Honey, just because I associate those two with each other for some reason. Also Big Swiss just entered my mind. Just about like relationships that are, I don't know, not the healthiest, but also eating people. Like we're eating people here. So Elegy for the Undead, What Hunger, Tender as the Flesh. If I took the speculative out of it and just went fiction, because there is just general fiction. The Lion Women of Tehran, maybe. Wahala is about a group of friends. Deep Cuts, also Cursed Daughter. I read that. You know, most of the time I'm only going to think of things that I have read. Wonder State, because I think what some of these books have in common is they are reality, but there's just like something that's a little bit off. I think it's going to be a sister book or a friendship book of people who are contending with who they used to be, who they are now, what they want out of life, and the relationship that they have. That's my guess for Lauren. Even if I don't get the book, I got the vibe. I for sure got her vibe. Open Throat. No. Okay, you know what? I was right about it being general fiction, but a little bit weird because this has a lion narrating the story. Oh, and it's set in Hollywood, which is fame adjacent. Lauren, I did not get that one. If I thought about it a little longer, would I have? I don't think so. Okay, we're moving on to Rachel. Rachel. When I was originally looking at this list, my eye just went to the things that I recognized, and I was like, oh, Rachel's a lover girl. We've got The 7-Year Slip and The Ornithologist Field Guide to Love, Emily Wilde, Heartless Hunter, First Time Caller, Phantasma, The Wild Side. And when I see Ornithologist and Emily Wilde together, I'm thinking of the third in my little trio, Empire of Shadows. But then there's like Robert Jordan and John Gwynne, and I just like want to ignore those because I don't know anything about, like, I don't know how fantastical they are. I don't know too much about them. And then we also have Project Hail Mary and Lock Every Door. When we go into honorable mentions and like everything just goes out the window. Now, I could just list a million fantasy books, like The Will of the Many perhaps could fit here. I think it's going to be some type of fantasy with romance, like kind of an adventure fantasy, like I can't think of anything. Okay, like The Everlasting or Catabasis. Is that a terrible guess? Something that mixes romantic stuff with fantasy. The popular romanticities of last year, according to Goodreads, I could list those. The Night and the Moth, The Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, Shield of Sparrows, Wild Reverence. I'm going to commit to the more night-like ones. I think The Everlasting and The Night and the Moth are my best picks because there's like weaponry here and it looks like maybe this person would like to read about knights. But also the other ones are softer fantasy, and that fits with Ornithologist and Emily Wilde. So, but also there's like a thriller in here and a sci-fi, and I just don't know what to do with that information. Like, what is a book that encompasses all of those things? Or I could be totally off and it could be like a nonfiction or something as Rachel's number one. What was the number one nonfiction of the year? Everything is Tuberculosis. Also, One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This is up there in the top row too. Rachel, give me a point, please. Empire of Shadows! Empire of Shadows. Oh my God. That, you know what? That is adventure romance. I said I couldn't think of an adventure romance. That one is adventure first. romance second. I just kept thinking like The Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi, but that's not romance. And I didn't want to say it because it felt wrong. Oh my God. I have 2 points. And we're on to person number 5. Rhiannon. Rhiannon is our sci-fi queen, okay? We've got Parable of the Sower. We've got Kindred. I should probably just immediately list another Octavia E. Butler. So let's throw that in there. Also, Harrow the Ninth is here. So not saying Gideon would feel silly because I don't know when Rhiannon might have read Gideon. Oh, last time I did this, I picked people's like lists from last year and all-time favorites too. And I think that threw me off a little bit too much. So I'm not going to do that this time. I can't think about anything but the things right in front of me. Since we have a repeated author, I feel like we could see that again too. Like there might be another Emily St. John Mandel because Station 11 is here. So I would say most likely favorite would probably be Sea of Tranquility. And then since there's an Adrian I don't know how to pronounce the author's name. I would do Elder Race too because I think Elder Race showed up in someone's favorites last year and I missed it. Not going to happen to me this time. But we also have like Bunny and The Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi and Death of the Author. And then we also have a nonfiction with The House of My Mother, fantasy with Mina al-Sarafi. But I want to stick with sci-fi. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a Ken Liu here or a Ted Chiang. Oh, Dungeon Crawler Carl could be this person's. It's going to be on somebody's for sure. Winter's Orbit makes me think of A Spear Cuts Through Water. That one could be here. Or The Darkness Outside Us. I really like that one. Everyone tells me that I need to read Winter's Orbit, so hopefully I will. Maybe it'll be like a science-y nonfiction in the number 1 spot. I couldn't tell you a single science. Our Moon. There's a book called Our Moon I've read. I don't think that would be it. There's so much sci-fi that I'm just like kind of stumped. But since we have mystery here, maybe a mysterious sci-fi. Like Murder by Memory. No, since we have a little horror here, what if it was like Into the Drowning Deep? A memory called Empire. I've read that one. I'm definitely wrong. Rhiannon, what is it? I'm gonna be mad. Am I gonna be mad? The Goblin Emperor? Okay, I got it wrong. But that's one that I think people have recommended to me. So maybe now I'm even more convinced because I've liked things on this list. And there's a mix of things that I've liked. Okay, reminding myself to read The Goblin Emperor. Who's next? Rose. I think Rose is somebody I guessed last year. And again, I'm not going to pull up their things because that's going to throw me off. Like I clearly can't do this already. I don't want to get more confused. There's more sci-fi on this one. I don't know what Space Oddity is, but I can tell it's set in space. Number 1 pick, well, number 2 pick, but number 1 on the list is The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. I always associate that one with One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This. That was on the top 40, like I just said, a lot. I don't know if somebody would put that in the number 1 and number 2 spot. Endling, the cover reminds me of There's Something in the Snow. So I want to guess that. The title Discontent makes me think of Disorientation. Bat Eater and the Cassandra Clare are pretty popular like horror and fantasy from the year. And Shark Heart: A Love Story I've heard so many people talk about. And Beautiful World, Where Are You? That's a really popular general fiction. Maybe it'll be another Sally Rooney, or for some reason I'm thinking Frederick Bachman. I think it could be any of his books. Maybe My Friends, because that's a new release, or Beartown. I think a lot of these books handle hard topics, and a lot of them are like reality, but like something strange is happening. Understanding what some of these books are, because there's one that's like reality, but there's like an octopus or something, and then the Dallergut Dream Making District, I think, is reality with a little bit of weirdness. Shark Heart: A Love Story is. Endling maybe is too. So something that's kind of surrealist, but like set mostly in reality is kind of like literary. I'm thinking Terrace Story. I love Terrace Story. I'm pretty sure that second last one is a short story collection. So that one could kind of work. Something like The Night Tiger, I could imagine. Reality, little weird. No one is talking about this. I feel like that would look good here with all of these picks. Rose's favorite is probably a book I've never heard of. It's either a book I've never heard of or it's something in the top 40. I feel strongly about that. Ooh, Freshwater. Freshwater would also look good here. Okay, Rose. Rose. I didn't put these in order on my list. One Day, Everyone Will Always Been Against This. I said that, right? I think I said that. Yeah, because I didn't think it would be it, but it was a guess. If I put it on the screen, it was a guess. I just got my 3 points. We can totally flop from here and it doesn't matter. I won my challenge. Oh, and we're gonna flop. I know I'm gonna get Vanessa's wrong. Because Vanessa's books are things that I've like never heard of. And I was so intrigued by this list. There's only one thing that I've read here, the Treasure Hunters Club. In fact, there's only one thing I've heard of here, and it's a Treasure Hunters Club. I didn't know what any of these books were when I saw them. I've heard Tom Rob Smith's name before, but I just think it's really interesting that the Treasure Hunters Club is like the collective, one of the collective hated books from the besties. So seeing it on someone's favorites is really fun. We have a historical fiction. We have a couple nonfictions. We have, actually, our nonfiction is A Year with the Seals, which is a new release. Still Life with Elephants. I thought maybe it was nonfiction, but I didn't actually look it up. Spectrums is nonfiction. And then we have Knit Pearl Baby Girl, which is just a very fun title. I feel like I've seen that before. Was it on someone else's favorites list? I don't know. If it's a popular release, like if it's on the top 40, I will be shocked, but I should probably pick something. Something that a lot of these have in common is like animals, right? Because like A Year with the Seals, and then the elephant, and then there's one, the parrot who thought she was a dog. And then I don't know if that one's about an animal. It's called The Wren though, so the title is Animal. And then There's Nothing Wrong with Her. It's set in a fish tank. I think this person loves animals, so I would say Wild Dark Shore has a little bit of animal stuff and like nature. So if it's from the top 40, that's my official guess. But I think it's gonna be a historical fiction with an animal influence. I don't know what that would possibly be. Oh my God, even the Spectrum book is edited by someone with the last name Sparrow. That's interesting. Oh, maybe not that Charlotte McConaughey, maybe a different one. Migrations is about birds, and When the Wolves, what's that one called? Once There Were Wolves is about wolves. Okay, Charlotte McConaughey is my top guess. Those two last ones are fantasy, and they're called Phoenix Fire and A Mage's Guide to Human Familiars. Animals. What animal books? Horse? Okay, I know about horse. Maybe something set in the sea. Okay, I have that nonfiction that I've read called, I don't know what it's called, like something through 7 Sea Creatures, and then Remarkably Bright Creatures is on my TBR, and then there's that other octopus one on my TBR. I think that was on someone's favorites last year, so I'm gonna guess that octopus one. I can't remember what it's called. Historical fiction though with animals, because there's historical fiction in that top row. I want to say like the nightingale is an animal, a crawdad is an animal, Wayward has a bird on it. The Curious Case of the Dog in the Nighttime, thematically I think would fit here. Or Counting by Sevens has fish on the cover. I remember that one for some reason. Oh, Emily Austen. They're not about animals, but they have animals on the cover often. So let's say Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. There's definitely things that don't have to do with animals at all here, but there is a lot of seaside stuff. I'm gonna say Migrations is my number 1. Oh my God, I'm so excited, Vanessa. Vanessa. I definitely got this right. The Naturalist Society. Oh, I should have said oh no, because there's no real fantasy. Well, there is. I could have said The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. I would have been so mad if it was that and I got it wrong. The Naturalist Society. This literally, like, all of these books combined is like The Naturalist Society. What is that? Cover is beautiful. Came out in 2024. And it's historical, about taxonomy. Ooh, I could have also said Veronica Speedwell. I probably should have said that. Okay, Vanessa does indeed love animals, and I love that for Vanessa. That's it for today. I got my 3 points. I failed quite a few times. And thank you to all my channel members for for participating in the spreadsheet, telling me all of your favorites. I love perusing it. I know other people have already created TBRs, reading other people's favorites, talking about it on Discord, what they're discovering about each other and themselves, and it's just so fun to watch. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in another video in a couple days. Bye!